toasting. Yeah, that's what we do. Set 'em up, knock 'em down, make that cherry glow. Whiskey and cigars, the gentleman's cologne.
Cheers, y'all.
That sounds like a party just about to happen, ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this fine radio program, podcast, and video extravaganza known internationally as the world-famous Smoking and Toasting. And Happy New Year, everybody! Wow, can you believe?
Happy New Year!
Can you believe we made it to 2025? I sound like one of those news anchors because they're always like, you know how they do that segment on Jimmy Kimmel where like every time it's a new month, they have all these clips of all these news anchors from local news around the country. Can you believe it's already September? Wow, it's September already. Can you believe it? And so that's our theme for today's show. Can you believe it's already 2025? Wow. Maybe we'll make it under Jimmy Kimmel. Hi, Jimmy. Welcome to the program, ladies and gentlemen. This is Smoking and Toasting. It's our first show of a brand new year. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. On today's show,
I love those things.
Going to talk about something that I think is very important as we to discuss, at least, as we get into a brand new year. Has craft beer lost its air of discovery? A very interesting article that I chanced across.
Okay, that's an interesting point.
We'll share some of that. We'll talk about it because for me, craft beer has been a journey of discovery.
Yes.
Since I very first discovered that craft beer was a thing. And like, oh my God, there's actually beer that tastes good. Like beer to me was always like, yeah, it was the easiest thing. I'll just have a Miller Lite or whatever, until I discovered, wait a minute, this beer has flavor. What is this? It was a Shiner Bock.
The only craft beer I'd ever tried up till the second one I tried, of course, was Shiner Bock. The second craft beer, and I don't know if you call it craft, the second craft beer I ever tried, craftier beer, was Michelob Dark.
I remember Michelob Dark. Whatever happened to that?
I don't know. It was actually pretty good if I remember, but I mean that was literally the second, not mainstream beer that I think I ever tried.
Well, speaking of craft beer and speaking of beer,
it was hard to find. You could only find it in a couple stores in Houston.
Right, I remember. It was not something you saw everywhere.
Right.
But I would always get it. And then I remember when I discovered Negro Modelo.
Right, Negro Modelo. Because Mexican restaurants.
Right, you could find that, and I was like, well, this is actually pretty good. This has a roasty flavor to it. I like it. So, but speaking of great beers that taste great, we want to thank our show beer sponsor once again. They've been our sponsor for the last month or so. The fine folks at Great Heights Brewing.
You're having that Fruity Pellets. The Fruity Pellets beer has incredibly evaporative qualities. Like even if you put the 4-packs in the refrigerator, the whole thing will evaporate eventually. You'll open up your refrigerator, it'll be gone.
It has evaporative qualities. You're right. But I will point out that on last week's show, actually, I said this has now made it into my echelon of the top three of IPAs.
And I went for something just a hair lighter. I'm having the Blue Tile IPA, which is just a straight up sessionable IPA, and it's a pretty well done.
They make some great beers at that.
Yeah, we have the Crystal Beach as well, which is their blonde ale, which is very, very sessionable.
A good thing. So if you are in the Houston area, I don't believe any of their beers are available outside of Texas, but you can find them almost everywhere in Houston. Yeah. And they are well worth it. And Abby, our friend there at Great Heights, does a wonderful job of getting their beers into like hip and cool restaurants.
The local restaurants.
So which is a very cool thing. So Abby, our hat is off to you, and thank you for the sponsorship here on Smoking and Toasting. We want to say big thanks to last week's special guest. And when I say big thanks, I not only thank them for being on the show, but I also thank them for the whiskey they provided. Oh, yeah. David Fowler and Alan Cohen from Reserve 101 in Houston. That was where we rang in the new year, and it was
Did we have fun? I don't even remember it.
I believe we did. Yeah. My understanding, reportedly, reports are that we had a good time.
Good time.
I enjoyed tasting a Jim Beam that was, I guess, as old as I am, maybe maybe older.
70,
really?
You said 70s.
70s.
I think that was right. Yeah.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah. I mean, that's
That's pretty much when I was born.
Yeah, that's insane.
You're just a young thing, Terry, but that was old whiskey.
Yeah.
And I love that they brought that out, and they brought out the modern one and say, okay, well,
Yes.
now we're seeing the juxtaposition of the two.
Right, yeah.
Which I thought
It was great fun. And those guys are so much fun. One of the things, and that is my neighborhood bar, because I can walk to it. I can walk to it and stumble home,
I'm
which is
a little jealous
the
on
most
that.
important.
I know.
The most important aspect of a local bar. If you can walk to it and stumble home, you're golden.
That's it, yeah.
But one of the things I love about going in there is they always have this this page in their little menu there, which is their current and recent barrel
picks, yeah.
and they're wonderful. They do such a good job with them, and
Sunday nights.
they love talking to you about them, which I also
Sunday
enjoy.
nights,
Yeah.
barrel picks are $6
Oh, dude. So this is
for 1 ounce pour.
You've heard that more
of
and more people are moving to Texas, and I'm convinced that's one of the reasons.
Right?
I'm just saying. If you're in
Whiskey,
New York,
baby.
where are you going to get a barrel pick for $6? I rest my case. That's all I'm saying. But we're heard all over the country at great radio stations like 990 AM, WGSO in New Orleans, Louisiana. Hello to BJ, the program director there. Thanks for putting up with our crap, BJ.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. And we're getting everything straightened out, we promise. Speaking of straightening things out, on today's show, we will straighten ourselves out with some interesting beer choices that we'll be sampling and telling you about what we find from Structures Brewing in Bellingham, Washington. And by the way,
tried them.
it's a Bellingham, Washington show today. We have 2 of our 3 beers are from Bellingham,
Really?
Washington. Yeah.
Okay.
So I thought and I don't think we've had either of these breweries on before.
right.
So I feel like we're spreading our wings. From Bellingham, Washington, Structures Brewing, we'll be trying their Forest King, the American pub-style brown ale from those guys.
I love brown ales.
Yeah. And
people don't make enough brown ales.
I was just about to say there aren't enough of them, and so this will be fun to try. Now, we have had beers on the show before from Phase 3 Brewing Company in Lake Zurich,
Yes,
Illinois,
yes, we have.
but they've all been very, very good. So it's fun enough to bring this back, and we'll be trying their American Ale. That's all it says, just says American Ale.
Okay.
And it's called Bonfire Fields.
Bonfire
fields,
feels.
but
Oh,
fields, like feelies,
Like
you know?
you're sitting around
Like-
a bonfire and having.
Yeah,
a
and
good old time.
I got
There
the
you go.
fields. It's good fields around the bonfire.
Like
so,
it.
so Michael row the boat ashore and have some more American ale. It's kind of the bonfire fields, I'm guessing. And then finally from Bellingham, Washington, again from a brewery called Wander Brewing. Wander, like wander out yonder in the fields.
Not all who wander are lost.
We'll be trying their bourbon barrel-aged Imperial Stout. The name of it is Balance.
Just simply balance.
Balance, yeah.
That's nice.
So that could be
Is it a Van Halen album?
it could be very nice. Yeah. No, also, Wander has another beer called OU812.
Yeah.
So it's
But they have different singers.
they're pretty good.
That's right.
Yeah. And by the way, if you find out it's the singer from Massachusetts, pass on it. Just have a lager or something. It'll work better. Also from Mexico, we'll be trying Casa Campo Azul's Tres Barricas. It's a tequila añejo.
That bottle looks awesome.
And by the way, I have it on good authority that Tres Barricas means 3 barricas in Spanish.
Your translations are getting pretty good.
Yeah, more complicated.
Yes.
You know, before it would be just like la and things like that.
That's right.
And L.
L.
Now I'm translating tres. I'm very impressed with myself. Barricas, I think, is barrels, so it's like a 3-barrel, something that's been aged in 3 different barrels.
There you go.
So I'm always happy when we have tequila on the show.
It's very whiskey looking.
Yeah, it is. And in fact, I'll just lift up the bottle here so the camera can see it. It's very whiskey looking in color, and then it has this sort of like looks like an old style football sort of leather with stitching on it. I'm very excited about this. So we'll get to that later on in the program, if I can wait that long. Also on the show today, we will be bringing you the 2 most actually popular features on the show, which is interesting that none of the most popular features are us tasting interesting stuff. They're all like very random things. Like
There are also portions where I don't talk.
those are also very popular.
I'm starting to see
Those are also very
I'm starting
popular.
to see a pattern here.
Today's drinking fact, I'll give you a teaser headline for it. How to cripple the Russian economy.
Ooh.
Particularly poignant right now, right? If we could cripple the Russian economy, maybe we could, end the whole, Ukraine thing and bring a little more peace to the world. That'd be a good thing, right? And then there's, of course, Drinking News, which is the most popular portion of this show. We have no idea why. It happens in the second hour of the program. It's where we bring you a news story from somewhere around the world, not a parody story, but an actual news happening from somewhere, off in Florida. And it is a segment of the show that has grown increasingly popular. And again, we're not sure why, but our teaser headline for Drinking News today is The Woman with the Golden Gun.
The woman with the golden gun.
You know the James Bond movie, right? The Man with the Golden Gun? Yeah, it's the woman with the golden gun. So we have that to be excited about. We'll do tell you about some cigars to watch for. We'll talk, of course, about the whole concept of has craft beer lost its air of discovery, and then also the best in beer editors and readers' choices for the best beers of 2024 as these lists begin to roll in. And on next week's show, by the way, we'll start talking about the cigar list from Cigar Aficionado. So
yes,
and all the other places.
We'll also be enjoying cigars.
Yes, and but for the moment, we're excited to be jumping in with the first of our lists from 2024, the best beers, and there are ones chosen by editors, and they're the ones chosen by readers. So to me, this will be interesting to see if there's any commonality between those. So looking forward to it. I guess Terry, I think we have time to go ahead and do our drinking fact today. So you want to break that out? Yeah, let's do that. Drinking fact.
And now it's time for another smoking and toasting drinking fact.
It doesn't get old. The bit gets old, but the fanfare does not get old.
Amazing.
Never gets old.
Our drinking fact for today, drinking fact number 413. During World War I, Russia banned the sale of vodka.
Whoa.
The government immediately lost a third of its income.
Oh,
Wow.
True story, true drinking fact. Think about that.
That's one of those.
Third of the revenue. Is there anything you could ban in the United States? Anything that would cause the government to lose a third of its revenue?
Wow.
I don't think there's a single thing.
Yeah.
Not a single thing. Like,
you may notice that did not happen during World War II. It's like they learned their vodka lesson.
Maybe we should. No. We're going to keep vodka.
Yeah, for sure. I wonder why they banned the sale of vodka in the first place. Like, were the soldiers getting too drunk to fight? I don't know.
Yeah, no, that is why.
I mean,
would they
it's
do
also
that?
a very effective cleaning agent. So,
Another thing that a lot of people don't know is when John Paul Jones, the American patriot, famously said, "I have not yet begun to fight," he'd been drinking rum all morning. A lot of people don't know that. And that, of course, gave rise to the question, which then became a very popular song, how do you deal with a drunken sailor?
how do you? Rum was the drink du jour for many, many years.
Oh, yeah. In fact, it was a drinking fact that we've had on the show before was that's how the Royal Navy used to pay their seamen.
That's what bourbon set out to replace.
Was rum. Yeah, and it's interestingly, it hadn't necessarily replaced it, but they have made some cash with bourbon. I mean, it has gone into the. Speaking of bourbon, I want to thank you for my Christmas gift, that bottle of Eagle Rare.
You're welcome.
I was telling Terry before the show that it is as yet unopened, which allows me to say I have a full bottle of Eagle Rare.
I think Terry outclassed me. I gave him a bottle of Buffalo Trace, and he came in today with a beautiful bottle of Glenmorangie.
Yeah, see, I'm wondering if he's angling for a raise, because usually we give him the liquor in order to prevent angling for a raise. So we'll have to work through this. This will be one of our challenges in 2025.
One of our challenges.
Yeah, we'll work through this. It's Smoking and Toasting show number 413. My name is Cruz. My co-host is Ian Barry. Terry Michaels is on the controls, the ones and the twos, the wheels of steel, if you will. And we'll take a break and be right back to talk cigars. It's Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And we are all about those things. So we love talking about them and sampling them and doing. That's what the whole show is about, really. And I mentioned at the top of the program that we're heard every week on great radio stations like WGSO in New Orleans. And I was on the WGSO website and I saw, where the show was.
The lineup,
it was in the lineup, and how we're on basically like. On the same day we're on, there's shows like Uncle Jackie's Gumbo and Ringside Politics and Food and Wine with Chef Jamie Gwen. And I'm thinking, these are professional shows. What the hell are we doing on this lineup? We really need to step up our game. And so we started trying to do that this last year by having some segment intros and things like that. And one of them is what we do when we try the beverage of mystery. So Terry, if you will go ahead and open us up here on that. Listen to how professional this is, ladies and gentlemen. We are right in there with Chef Jamie Gwen.
The beverage of mystery.
See what I'm talking about? This is called stepping it up.
That's
stepping it up to face the moment.
It's almost like you have a voice for radio.
I have a face for radio, I can tell you that. Beverage of Mystery is where one of us brings in a beverage of some type, usually an alcoholic beverage, not always, but most of the time.
You brought in one that has a what do you call that thing?
What?
That snugs everything up on a woman.
Oh, like a girdle? Yeah. Well, this isn't a beverage of mystery.
Corset, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
yes.
okay, a corset. Yeah. This isn't a beverage of mystery, though. That's our tequila, which we'll get to later. This one is one where I'm the only one that knows what this is. And I have poured it, brought it in for you gentlemen,
So
and we'll be
looking at
sampling
this
it.
one.
When you nosed it,
This one is apple pie.
Yeah, when I looked at it, I was
Cinnamon
thinking
apple pie.
beer, but when you nose it, wow.
This smells like those 13 seconds of goodness when you get the apple pie from McDonald's.
Oh, right.
Those 13 seconds where it's not too hot, but it's not too cold yet.
Right. It's that perfect balance, and it does not last long.
Yeah.
No. It does not last long at all. It's the golden moment.
Wow, that just smells
Well,
good.
this is apple pie, man.
Yeah.
For sure. I had not tasted this before
it
now.
tastes
wow.
just as good as it's. Oh, yes.
Oh, wow.
And I love apple ciders and things like this, so I love this already.
I'm not one that would usually go, that drink tastes like apple pie, I'm going to drink it. This is pretty darn good.
Oh, yeah.
It tastes like apple pie, and you drink it, right? Yeah. It is like drinking an apple pie.
There's no artificial sweetness. Is this a mead or is this a... I'm so interested.
I drink this sitting in a lazy boy on Christmas.
That's right.
Well, Ian, I think it's time for you to ask me the most important question.
Hey,
of the day.
is that a beverage of mystery in your pocket, or are you just happy to be here?
Yeah, I am very happy to be here, but it is, in fact, a beverage of mystery can. This is from a company called Lulz, Lulz, and it is a cinnamon apple hard seltzer.
All right, now let me ask you this question.
Yep.
This is a hard seltzer, right? Mm-hmm. How come it doesn't have a crappy artificial sugar aftertaste?
Yeah.
Because Lulz has apparently figured it out, is what it was. Either that or it could be something about the cinnamon and apple flavor, because it really does taste like an apple pie.
It really
could be
does.
something about that counteracts
This is
artificial
bizarrely
sweetener.
Maybe it's
good.
not artificially sweet. Does it have artificial sweetener in it? Does it say, or is it like maybe it's naturally sweetened?
It's really hard to read. Government warning, according to the Surgeon General.
It's got that one.
Maybe you can. Maybe you have better
That is,
eyesight. than I do.
tiny. Brewed and packaged by Phase 3 Brewing Company.
So Phase 3 is one of our beers for today.
Right,
Comes
how
from Phase
funny
3.
is that?
So Lulz must be their brand, their seltzer brand name.
Yeah.
I wonder what it must
Lulz
stand
Hard
for something.
Seltzer, 12 fluid ounces.
LULZ.
Man, there just is not that much. It says, do it for the Lulz. Store cold, drink fresh.
I'm telling you, though, these guys have figured out the formula.
Is that something you can get around here, or is that something you have to order?
Dairy-free, zero gluten added, coming in at 5%. That's really all the
So
information.
I would go
we have.
buy a 6-pack of that right now on the way
I
home.
got it online, but I have seen Phase 3's beers here before.
Okay.
So it might be worth
Checking
looking
specs
for
out.
or checking specs out. If they don't have it, maybe ask if they can get it. Honestly, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say this is the best hard seltzer I've ever tasted.
I have to
Yes.
agree. This is
Yes.
This has none of the drawbacks.
I would totally buy it.
Is it a little too sweet? Yeah. Does it taste like cinnamon apple? Yeah.
Is
pretty darn
apple
good.
pie a little too sweet?
Yes.
Yeah. You know, I mean,
100%.
Wow.
this is no sweeter than a slice of apple pie.
This tastes like if you took that, the stuff in the apple pie that's not the apple itself, the
goo.
Pie
filling
It's a
goo
pie
stuff,
filling, yeah.
and just thinned it out just a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty
good.
fantastic.
Yeah, it really is. The fact that, I mean, I'm the finish and the aftertaste is still the apple cinnamon, and
Yes.
none of that
Yeah.
horrible artificial
And there's a
sweetener
little
taste.
tartness to that apple too. I love this. This tastes so fresh.
I would totally buy this
Yes.
and intend to. So I got this off the Tavour app, which is where I get some of the Phase 3 beers. But I have seen Phase 3 somewhere on the shelves. I believe it's packed.
I'm on the lookout.
Worth hunting
this is
for.
nice.
Look for Lulz if you are trying to
I
find a
want
hard
to try
seltzer.
some different varieties.
Yeah,
from
you and
them.
me both. Like some
I mean,
berry
if this is
stuff
that
or-
good, come on.
Absolutely. All right. We promised to talk cigars. We haven't done that yet, but we will when we come back. Plus, is American craft beer losing its air of mystery? Not beverage of mystery, but air of discovery. We'll talk about that as well when we come back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We're glad you're on with us, and we do enjoy those things. And you know what else we enjoy from time to time here at the show? Because we do record the show in advance so we can get it ready for our radio
Are you
affiliates.
talking about the first half of our name, smoking?
Well, that's part of what we enjoy. I was actually going to talk about day drinking. because often we're even like in the late morning when we're recording the show, and there's a new trend that I wanted to share with you that has become more and more of a thing of late. When you think of drinking in the morning, you probably either think of like going to brunch on the weekends, maybe getting a Bloody Mary, or maybe picking up a Bellini or something like that with a brunch. But breakfast wine is basically pushing the Bloody Mary aside and making a whole thing, a pre-noon sip of a beverage that inspires leisure and relaxation. Forget the breakfast cocktails, the article here in the Zoe Report says, like the mimosa, Bellini, and Bloody Mary, breakfast wine shines all on its own.
The only downside to having a breakfast wine is that you then also have to order food.
Yeah, well,
Whereas if you order a Bloody Mary,
the food comes in the glass.
comes on the stick.
As long as you
at
like,
least something.
As
does.
long as you like celery. That reminds me of the liquor laws in certain states are different and strange. And one of the liquor laws in Texas, I think this is still in effect. I know it used to be, is that you could not sell alcoholic beverages before noon on a Sunday. And I remember, is that still in effect too?
Yeah. Well, they have some different things.
Notice I can ask Terry, and he immediately knows whether you can buy alcohol on a Sunday before noon.
There was, and then there was different ones with stores, and there's different ones with restaurants.
But there was a
Restaurants could go
change
to
a few years
11
back,
where you
right?
could do it. But there was a change, and I'm not exactly sure what the change was, but I do remember quite a few Texan fans being very happy about this because they would be able to go a little
'Cause you
earlier
could
on a
tailgate.
Sunday.
You're right.
Yeah,
Tailgate
for the
on Sunday.
tailgate.
Well,
yes.
I do remember this from, it would have been probably 20 years ago.
Yeah, and definitely then you
But
could.
a friend of mine had tickets to a Dallas Cowboys game, and he invited me to come to Dallas and go to the game with him. I thought, oh, why not? Might as well, right? So I go to the game. We're there early. We're in the parking lot. They've got all these vendors set up selling, barbecue and all kinds of stuff. And I walked up to one of them where they had beers. And I said, yeah, I want to buy a beer. How much is it? He goes, I can't sell you a beer because it's not noon yet.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, oh, okay. He goes, but I can sell you a $9 celery stalk
Yes.
and give you a free beer. And I'm like, sold. And this is the crazy things you have to do to get around the liquor laws.
Liquor laws in Texas are
in
like
some
that.
states.
Yes,
Yeah. I mean, that's just nuts that you can even do that.
I remember
There's also, I think restaurants were put under, like, you could only sell it if you're buying food.
Yes, if you had food on the table at like 11 a.m., but if you didn't have food on the table, that made a difference.
I remember
eating.
Ordering when I lived in Vermont. The liquor laws are pretty loose there, but they have one thing that was bizarre, and that is that they could only hand you one drink at a time. So if you're at a bar and you wanted, and I don't really do shots anymore, but if you wanted, let's say, a shot and a beer, they had to give you the shot. You would shoot it, hand them back the empty glass, and then and only then could they give you the beer. I don't know if that's...
Can you just imagine one of these people standing there with a tray of like 5 different things? Here, drink this. Okay, here, drink this. Here, drink this.
Next. I guess it's to promote responsible drinking. I don't know.
And that's just backfiring all kinds of ways
time.
around.
Big time.
Dude, bartenders have to freaking hate that.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Because they can't be waiting on somebody else and ringing them up.
Yeah,
they have to be holding on to your beer, you lousy bum.
And here's the problem. I don't do shots. I sip.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Once
You're gonna be here a while, buddy.
Once I stopped doing shots and only was interested in sipping spirits, they're going to be holding that beer for a long time.
Once I stopped doing shots, and again, only sipping spirits, I found that I don't do, what do they call that? Time travel, blackout.
Right?
That's it.
Yeah, blackout.
Blackout travel. Like I used
to. Ian, I am sure you've had the opportunity to smoke something interesting this week. You want to tell us about it?
It's marvelous that you should ask.
Yeah.
Caldwell Eastern Standard. Now, when we were at the Briar Shop,
yes, which is now called Winston's
last
Cigar
month,
Lounge.
right?
What a great place!
Winston, now called Winston's. We happened to run into the Caldwell cigar rep, and he laid a couple cigars on us. This is one that he laid on us. So this is the Coretto, is what they call it. This is a Robusto 5 inches by 50 ring gauge, with a Aracon hybrid Ecuador wrapper from Ecuador, an Indonesian binder, and a Dominican and Nicaraguan filler, which is such an interesting blend of stuff, right?
Sure.
The appearance on this: medium brown, oily, smooth, some veins, pigtail on the cap, single band, very firm feel overall. The pre-light sniff, I got sweet coffee, some chocolate, and some earth. I used a V-cut on a pre-light draw. I got a medium draw with sweet coffee and chocolate. The initial light, I would call this a coffee bomb with a tangy leather and toasty toast.
Interesting.
Yes, toasty toast. Retrohale is sweet cream and leather. The first third of this, the draw stayed a little bit tight on it, so I opened it up with a clip, which lightened up the draw dramatically whilst simultaneously knocking the ash off onto my toes, and I was wearing flip-flops.
That's not good.
So I'll let you guys go ahead. You remember that scene in The Big Lebowski where he drops his he's smoking and he drops it in his lap and he runs into
It's great.
That's kind of what I felt like, except for I was sitting still.
Yeah.
Like to point out that Ian made a movie reference. That doesn't happen too often on this show. So I think it should be celebrated.
Yeah, exactly.
So sweet coffee and toast with a bit of spice on a bit of leather, tea leaf, and a slightly nutty note coming through. Retrohale is sweet coffee and toast, solid ash, perfect burn. Proposed pairing, I did the whiskey sniff. Now, this is a crazy one, right? I went through a bunch of my whiskeys.
Yeah, looking
on
for
the
just the
whiskey
right
sniff.
one, right?
And Lafrague quarter cask.
Wow. That wound up being the one, huh?
Lafrague quarter cask will bury everything.
Yeah.
But I trusted my nose because it always knows.
Thanks, Duke.
All right,
The nose knows. Yeah.
You can follow the nose. Anyway, so I trusted it. So I poured myself a dram of Lafrague quarter cask and I went back out and I sat down and took a few puffs of my cigar. And I hadn't tasted the whiskey yet. I just took a few puffs of the cigar to get it back in my palate. Sweet and lightly spiced, delivered by massive mouthfuls of smoke, medium strength, big flavor. And then I took a sip of my quarter cask, and this stands up to and even complements the Lafrague quarter cask.
Wow, nice.
Retrohale is sweet coffee and toast, solid ash, perfect burn. Now I want to point out, and this is a part I didn't write down here, but I want to point out this is a medium cigar. This is not a full flavored cigar,
And it still stood up to this
but
whiskey.
the smoke is so flavorful. Like, it's not that strong of a cigar.
Right.
But the smoke is so flavorful that it stood up to Lafrague. I did end up putting a piece of ice in there and letting it dilute it just a little bit because that's just the way I like to drink my whiskey anyway. But man, it was such a nice thing together. A bit of hay on the last third of this and a distinctive cedar note sneaks in and adds to the other overall flavors. The Retro Hail is sweet and cedar, solid ash, perfect burn. I believe this cigar comes in at $11.50-ish, $12, somewhere in that neighborhood. It gets a solid $5. What a great cigar. The burn on it was perfect. The construction was perfect. I love the oily wrapper. I love the tangy, leathery notes on the lips.
I got to go get one because you really made this sound awesome.
You have one. He gave you one.
I do have one, yeah, in my humidor. That's good. I'm excited about getting to that. I'll give you this to go ahead and pour while I tell you about my cigar this week. I smoked the Crowned Heads Juarez Jack Brown. It's the Robusto Grande size. Crowned Heads is a very interesting boutique cigar company. They've got a whole line of cigars, for example, that are inspired by the legend of Johnny Cash's Cocaine Blues, the story of a man named Willie Lee who gets in trouble with the law and winds up finally getting caught in the town of Juarez, Mexico. So one of the cigars in the line is a Willie Lee. In this case, it's the cigar called Juarez, the Jack Brown size. It's a 5 by 56 Robusto Grande. Very nice looking chocolate brown cigar with a smooth surface and very few veins. The wrapper is from Mexico, the increasingly popular San Andreas wrapper, and it's draped over an Ecuadorian binder and filler tobacco from the Dominican Republic and Nicaragua. Now, I put on some Johnny Cash. I actually did, and used my the one he did at Folsom.
I'm Johnny Cash.
The one he did at Folsom Prison. That whole album.
Oh yeah,
brilliant. Anyway, I used my V cutter to open up the head of the Jack Brown and checked all the pre-light aromas. There was chocolate, a sweeter, mild chocolate note. Thank you. And some hints of raisin and dried fruit. I lit this gorgeous cigar up and got a nice mix of mellow flavors on the first few puffs. The strength would eventually ramp up to medium-bodied, but the first few draws were actually gentle and mild, so no Nicaraguan pepper blast.
It's hard to play Johnny Cash on a ukulele.
Oh, no, I can make it.
I know, but to make it
chocolate, similar to the milk chocolate from the cold draw, was one of the first things that I noticed. But as the cigar smoked, that chocolate note evolved into something more like cocoa powder, less sweet than it was at the first few draws of smoke. There were notes of dried fruit and toasted nuts as well, and the burn and construction were spot on. By second, third, the sweetness returned, but this time it was more of like a marshmallow note with hints of vanilla. Nuttiness continued, which made the Juarez Jack Brown seem almost like a pastry, except for a touch of pepper on the finish. Lots of complexity, too, though. I was really enjoying this cigar a lot. Chocolate and caramel in the final third, balanced by a layer of pepper on the finish that kept the sweet versus salty vibe going, which was really awesome. Suggested pairing, Eagle Rare, which I'm going to be pairing with quite a few things thanks to a very thoughtful gift.
That's going to be the suggested pairing for the next couple of months.
Yeah.
I had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich with Eagle Rare.
Just have a feeling it would work perfectly with the Juarez Jack Brown. So I have another one of these cigars resting in the humidor, and I have this bottle of Eagle Rare that I may have mentioned. So I'm excited about 2025, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be a good year. I know that I have smoked one of these before, at least a few years ago, and I don't remember being as blown away by that one as I was by this one, which just goes to show you that sometimes, maybe in different circumstances, cigars can hit you differently, or maybe it shows that unlike some blends, which might be great at first, but maybe don't maintain their original blend that well over the years, this one may have actually gotten better. Either way, the Crowned Heads Juarez Jack Brown was an awesome smoke, and the even better news, $7 to $8 for the cigar. Yeah. It's not a $12 to $15 cigar. I think I have found a winner here. I'm going to say highly recommended. Price to quality 6.5.
Nice. Our price to quality scale is a scale from 1 to 10, and if you get a 5 on this scale, you get exactly what you pay for. Mm-hmm. You start pushing above a 5, you're getting you're pushing basically above your price point there.
Yeah, and that's not a bad thing to do.
That's pretty good stuff.
Yeah, so liked it a lot, and very excited to have kind of found a new cigar for my regular rotation in the humidor.
You know, they also have their 4 Kicks series.
Yes, I've had the 4 Kicks,
which has the they have the kind of Zeppelin references and stuff like that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
There's interesting company.
This speaking of interesting, this brewery, Structures Brewing, That is a very interesting can of brown ale. Nothing about this can says brown ale to me, right? Usually it has more of an autumnal theme. This just looks like it's a
skull with antlers.
Maybe something from Yellow Jackets on Showtime. I don't know. It's just very, very strange, very weird.
Did you try it?
And I like it. I have not tried it yet. You have, I take it. What are your thoughts?
It's delicious. Forest King. Oh, Forest King. That's why. So he's got
right. He's the king of the forest.
He's got the antlers
of the forest.
It's like little berries. Maybe some snakes coming out of his skull too. He's missing one tooth.
Oh. This is good, my friend.
Wow. Yeah, so this American pub-style brown ale was brewed with a blend of American and English malts, hopped with Mittelfrüh hops.
I don't know if I'm familiar with Mittelfrüh.
Forest King embodies a rich coffee and toffee character with a nuttiness and dryness that makes it easy drinking.
Boy, coffee and toffee is right. That's totally what
we
you get.
love to share simple coffee beers just like this, or classic beers just like this. It is the past that enriches the future. I love brown ales, and this is an outstanding brown ale right here.
Well, these guys are from Bellingham, Washington. We have two beers from Bellingham today, from two different breweries. Wander Brewing a little bit later on with their balanced bourbon barrel-aged Imperial Stout, and this one from Structures with their Forest King American pub-style brown ale. And I will say, something about this does kind of taste like it just came from the tap, if that makes any sense. Yeah, it really has that sort of freshness to it. So bingo. If you can find Structures Brewing near you, look for the Forest King. This is a brown ale worth seeking out, I
would
believe.
drink this floating down the river.
Yeah, I believe you would. All right, we have to take a break. We have so much more to talk about in today's show, including we had a Phase 3 hard seltzer on the show already. Now we'll do a Phase 3 Brewing Company American Ale, which tells me almost nothing about the style of what this beer is going to be.
American.
But I'm looking forward to trying it because it's from America. And we'll be right back. It's
Hold on, I'm going to turn my head around.
I like that. Works with the bass line, kind of, you know?
Pretty groovy.
Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We're heard on radio stations all across the country. We are available, of course, anywhere where you get podcasts, and the video version of the show always available on YouTube. And
put it on in the background.
Yeah.
Set a little fire. Create the mood.
Speaking of YouTube, I have a bone to pick with YouTube as a platform, right? Because there's no way that we can monetize at all our show on YouTube.
Nope.
And it's because of the content. It's because our content is about alcohol and tobacco, and so YouTube will allow us to be on the platform, but they will not. If they sell ads, at the beginning of our show or whatever, we can't see any of the money from that. Whereas if we were on, unboxing stuff and a bunch of people watch that, we could share in the revenue.
If we were just showing ourselves partying and drinking in the bar.
But here's why I have a problem. I understand YouTube's trying to take a moral stand here. Okay, because it's tobacco.
It's a very
and
cheap shot moral stand.
Yeah, but this is the same outfit that continues to push Creed videos on me. And I'm trying to figure out what the hell is going on with this supposed resurgence of one of the worst bands in the history of music, Creed. I'm just saying, this is not a good band, and yet YouTube, despite the fact that I have not once ever clicked,
searched, or did you do anything?
Never.
Nothing?
I would agree with you about the worst bands in history, except for we have bands like 311 and
dude, Creed's worse.
No,
Creed's worse.
Dude, I would see 311 100 times before I would see Creed
Absolutely.
once.
Absolutely.
I gotta
and Limp Bizkit.
Gotta disagree with you. By the way, there's a Limp Bizkit resurgence going on. What the hell is up with that? It's like you know what I think it is? It's people who are discovering them that are too young to have been here like we were during the 90s and early 2000s.
Oh no! Yes, you're exactly right. This is the
and they
sort
don't
of thing
realize
that
how bad this all got.
I like when everyone's sitting around singing, the Maps by Maps. That's huge on TikTok now. Wait, and they all sing it because it's a TikTok thing. I played the song for my daughter the other day. The first minute she was like, "What is this song? I have no idea." Until it actually got to the
part
chorus.
where
you only know the one part.
Yeah, that's right. They don't love you like I love you. Wait, they don't like, and that's it. And everyone does that on TikTok.
Yeah.
And there's huge things. Weezer song. They're always singing some Weezer song. I'm like, that's a song that I just, I listened to in high school. What are you talking about?
Here's the difference between music genres, okay? If you listen to rock or pop rock and you go back to the early 2000s, it was not better then. It was worse. It's gotten better since then, right?
Yeah.
But if you're in hip hop, it was better in the 90s and the 2000s.
Yes.
There was some great stuff going on then. And now I don't know what's going on.
Can you put a little bit of what's it called? Auto-tune on my voice.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, with it. It's not, also the thing is the only good songs, rap and rock have a lot of similarities to me in what I like. I like the songs that are party songs.
Yeah.
But the songs that are really serious, like when rock took that turn and got real angry bald-headed guy. Oh, that was. I'm sorry that your parents don't like you, but
about Seether?
I don't want to hear about that. I want to hear David Lee Roth say "boozy boozy bop."
Right. See, if you go back to the late 90s and early 2000s in hip hop, you get Nas, you get early Jay-Z stuff.
The first Nas album is brilliant.
Right, you get some amazing. If you go back in rock, you get Limp Bizkit and Creed.
Yes,
I'm just saying
it was just not good.
Yeah, it wasn't.
It was
All right,
not good.
Enough about that. Let's taste some beer before I get in a really, really sour sort of a mood. Phase 3 Brewing. We already tried a seltzer from them today, and it was the best seltzer I've ever had. I can tell you that. Best hard seltzer I've ever had. Now we're trying a beer from them, which they label an American ale, although it is dark, almost as dark as the brown ale that we tried in the beginning.
This is not the best beer I've ever had.
Okay.
There is absolutely nothing wrong with it, though. It's pretty darn good.
What is with the name Bonfire Fields? What are we
Bonfire Fields.
What are we trying here?
It says here that according to the Surgeon General.
Okay, well that clears it up.
It just says Bonfire Fields American Ale.
It doesn't feel all that much different.
It doesn't have any other information on here, really. It has brewer's notes, biscuit, pine.
I definitely get the biscuit.
Coming in at 6 point. Yeah, I get the pine at the tail end too. Coming in at 6.8% by volume.
You're right. It's not the best beer I've ever had, but it's pretty good.
No, it's pretty nice.
Yeah,
that's nice.
I have a tendency to think of Phase 3 as this really exceptional brewery. Like I have super high standards for them.
This beer right here feels like something that if they took this and barrel aged it, it would become something real special.
I think you could be right. A barrel aged American ale. But you're right. This says almost nothing about it. Phase 3 is out of Lake Zurich, Illinois. They do make some amazing things, but I think with the seltzer they outdid themselves. With this, they produced a good beer. Yeah. And I like changing it up, and it is different, especially the finish. What is that finish?
It's pine.
It's pine.
It's that astringent, that kind of resinous, almost pine.
Yeah.
It's not dank.
Right. It's not.
It's just straight up pine cone.
Straight up pine. Yeah.
Right. And it's not pine cone like it's stuck in your teeth and you can't get the flavor out of there. It's not that bad.
Right.
Wait, what kind of pine cone issues have you had?
Well,
riding dirt bikes or something?
There have been
falling?
some IPAs that have definitely given off that vibe. Yeah. I remember, and not to talk about the deceased, but I remember when I first tasted more Cowbell. The double or triple or Imperial IPA from the late Buffalo Bayou Brewing Company here in Houston, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is the piniest thing I've ever consumed." but it was strangely appealing at the same time.
You know what I miss from them is their copper ale.
Copper ale, baby. That was
1836 copper ale was so good.
Good. All right. We got to take a break. We will be back with hour 2 of the program. Drinking news is still on the way. Plus, we still have to tell you about craft beer. Has it, in fact, lost its air of discovery? And we'll discover just a little more next. It's Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We want to thank you very much for listening. Show number 413 is today's show. That means we've done 412 before this, and now we're up to 413, which is a pretty long time for nonsense like this to continue, don't you think? It's just like
nobody has stopped us.
That's right. That's right. We had somebody take a big issue with the fact that we used to say that nobody has stepped in to stop us, but that was a long time ago, and still to this day, 413, no one has stepped in to stop this from happening.
Nobody dares.
Is that a screw top you're messing with?
It is a screw top.
That's
on
a
the
crazy
tequila.
screw top, right?
Yeah. And by the way, I already took it out of the packaging, but this comes in a sort of a slatted wooden box that it really is just kind of the corners and the top of the bottom.
I just want to point out, it's very modern appointments of the screw top and the corset.
The corset.
See, the screw top threw me off a little bit because I was when I was pulling the volume down on the music, expecting a pop like we do when we come back from break sometimes, and it was just unscrewing. I was like, oh,
yeah.
Okay.
The screw top's a little anticlimactic in the sound.
Well, let's hope they make up for it with the tequila. I do like the packaging, though. I have to say.
It is a nice
American
bottle.
oak barrel, French oak barrel, ex cognac cask, and French oak ex sherry cask.
That is the Tres Barricas, or the 3 barrels, and those are the different. Read them again, Ian. What the barrels were?
So American oak, using French oak. Oh no, American oak, and then a French oak barrel that's an ex cognac cask, and a French oak barrel that's an ex sherry cask.
So I was really intrigued by this because I have a tendency. My favorite tequilas are the ones that have those sort of deeper, aged in oak kind of flavors to them. So I'm hoping we got something.
The oak is huge on the nose.
Yeah.
Oh man, it really is.
Big time.
Oh.
You get a little bit of.
Oh my goodness!
You get a little bit of the agave, and you get a little bit of the oak on the nose. But what happens when you taste?
Man, do you like pepper?
Ooh, wow! That tastes just like a packet of pepper right there.
There is some pepper, but I'm also getting maple. I'm getting vanilla.
Vanilla, big time.
Yeah, which I really, really like. This is interesting.
When I say
pepper comes first.
I mean pepper in the best of tequila kind of ways.
Well, when I take a second sip, then I start tasting more of the flavors other than
and the pepper lessens a little bit in the second sip.
After the second sip, it really...
That first sip, though, is almost like a Mexican pepper blast.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's an earthy kind of pepper bomb.
But when I go for the second one, you're right. The pepper really recedes. Then you get the vanilla. You get a kind of a butteriness.
And it keeps going. The third one, I mean, really, once you get used to the pepper, your start can open up all the different flavors.
This is just when I need a tequila that gets better with subsequent sips. This is a very dangerous thing for me.
And the first sip was good too.
I agree. The first sip,
nothing wrong
was
with
good
it.
too. It's just very peppery. It reminds me. I have such a distinct memory of this. Several years ago, I spent an entire month in Los Angeles working remotely, and I had rented a place there for a month. And I remember when I got there, I thought I got to get stocked up. So I went really just for like some emergency rations to like a drugstore, like a Duane Reade, I think it was. And I was shocked to discover that they had hard alcohol on the shelves there.
I was going to say, I just went to Walmart to pick up some alcohol.
And sure enough, they had Hornitos Anejo, and it was really inexpensive. And I'm not used to anything being inexpensive in California.
Yeah,
right? So I was like, okay, I'm going to get this is Anejo. I'm getting a bottle of this for my time at the house. And I remember really liking it, but it was the pepperiest
The Hornito's very peppery.
tequila that I'd ever had. And so whenever I have a tequila with a lot of pepper, I flash back to that. But as you were saying, Terry, this gets less and less peppery with every sip.
Yeah, I really like the way that every sip, it kind of opens up a little bit more for you. 3 or 4 sips in, you're kind of like, oh, okay, there's a lot more to unpack here.
There's more butter. Now, 4 or 5 sips in, I'm starting to compare this to like a Skelly for the butteriness and the.
So I let my palate
smoothness.
rest. I let my palate rest for a minute while you were talking.
Yeah.
And I didn't clear it. I just let it rest. And then I take another sip and I start getting, that butteriness. I start getting brighter flavors that the initial palate shock was covering up. The brighter flavors that are more like the. There's almost an orange zest in here.
Yes, absolutely.
There's really kind of like almost a chocolatiness, like chocolate orange zest kind of thing. There's a touch of like a lemony kind of thing too. The citrus in here is pretty big, and then the wood is so astringent on the back end. I actually love that.
Yeah,
it's like so much oak, like just tons and tons of oak.
If I could be so bold as to quote the American poet Kenny Rogers, it's the wood that makes it good.
I mean, you got to know when to hold them.
Well, there's that, yeah, and when to fold them, by the way.
If I could quote the great poet Butthead, you said wood.
I got to tell you, I like this more.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I like this more and more the more I drink, and that is a really dangerous quality for a tequila.
It really
to have.
does continue to get better. I mean, it just really continues to open up, and like
how do you think this would do with a cigar?
I don't know, but I'm game to try.
Right? It's a little questionable. Like, would it be good?
I think maybe with something that was like along the lines of a medium-bodied cigar, something like the Juarez that I was talking about. I think might go with this. I know what you're saying though. For my sort of usual like AJ Fernandez Nicaraguan like San Latano Maduro, I don't think that would be a match. Yeah, I think they would fight.
I think almost something on the very light side though. Something like that Tatiscan you had a few weeks ago, something like the like the Fuente the Hemingway series.
The Hemingway series, I think, would go very well with this. Something a little lighter, like light to medium, all the way up to a medium bodied, I think, is as far as you'd want to go with this. And not something that was super earth rich. I think that's what
you want something like campfire
fight.
style. Campfire and traditional tobacco go really well.
Even if you went with something like some of the campfire style cigars, the ones that have some like smoke in them, like
smoke in them, like the Kentucky Fire Cured,
right? The Kentucky Fire Cured.
Actually, I think you're really right. That would probably be really nice.
Really well with this, yeah. Be
interesting because there's not a lot that I would generally pair with the Kentucky Fire.
100%, right. Maybe
because those will beat up a whiskey pretty bad.
Yeah. Maybe the right bourbon, but you'd have to really whiskey sniff it out to try it for sure. You really would. So. It's been an interesting year, 2024 was, for craft beer and for breweries. I was looking at some of the final figures, and there were more craft breweries that closed in 2024 than in any single year since the craft boom started. However, there were a number of new openings. So while the closings outpaced the new openings by a little bit, the new openings actually offset the closings to a pretty large degree. So it was an interesting craft beer overall trending down last year. Overall more closures than openings, but not by the numbers that you would expect.
Do you think we're past like by this last year 2024 and the closing breweries? Do you think that those are past? Those weren't victims of the close down, the pandemic.
The pandemic. I think it's all certainly.
Or do you think still the 2024 close downs were still tied to that?
I think the 2024 close downs were tied to that. Think about it. If your business was way off during the height of COVID, how long does it take to try and recover from that?
Yeah.
When business starts to come back, you don't just make up all that lost ground the first year.
Yeah.
You lost a lot of ground. So I think a lot of it is cumulative. I also think people found. I think people became more localized in their beer consumption in terms of going to the close local breweries that they were able to go to as we were coming out of the pandemic. And that may have hurt some of the ones that they're further away from. But
I think, I got to say, much like a forest fire will clear it out and make way for new stuff, I think that some, and not all, certainly not all, because there's a lot of circumstances here, but some of the ones we lost weren't as good.
I think that's.
I think that it really.
Some were, but yes, I think a lot of them were. I think that it
really kind of pushed some of those mediocre ones out of the way and went, you know what, the people are going to go to the better breweries. And some of those that lost were because they weren't up to par.
Some natural progression.
And listen, anytime there's let's call it a fad, anytime there is an industry that's growing, there's always going to be more people who jump into it than it can really support, right? There's some natural fall off, whether it's craft beer, whether it's, hardware stores, whether it's electric vehicles, whatever it is. There's always going to be more people who jump into that than there is demand for the product, and that's gonna impact it. I chanced across an interesting article about a brewery that was closing. It's Silva Brewing in Paso Robles, California, and Chuck Silva is the owner of Silva Brewing. And he's the one that's closing it. And he said this. He said craft beer doesn't quite have the air of discovery that it used to be. Incorrect grammar that's what he told the Tribune, the local paper there. He says it's not so much a kind of entertainment value to seek out and discover new beers like it used to be. And the craft beer has lost the air of discovery. What do you think about that?
I can get behind what he's saying to some degree, because I remember like I used to love going to new places and go, okay, what kind of local beer can I find here? I would go to a grocery store. I would go to
you're in another town store, or whatever, right?
I would 100% make it, and I still do that actually, but also the local beer scenes have become much more ubiquitous too. So like, it's not as special as finding that little place out in the country or whatever that
Guadalupe Brewing Company that I found outside of New Braunfels
in the little industrial center here in town, or whatever.
Right.
Because nowadays you just put it in and there's 40 of them.
But I think the air of discovery is more about the beers themselves.
See, that's the thing is, I think that there maybe that fad of the at one time there wasn't as many choices, and then all of a sudden there was a lot of choices. So now I need to get out and figure out what I like. Right. But I think that people are still just as excited when, like, we taste a new Ghost in the Machine that tastes really good. I think that, when someone finds something that tastes really good, it's now gone from craft beer people discovering to connoisseurs that are actually looking for things, and people are still excited to find a new one.
And that's really true. If you think about it, we've been through this with cigars. The cigar boom was in the 90s. That's when people who, it was like amateur hour for cigars. Like everybody was smoking cigars. It was like the big deal, and it resulted in there not being enough good tobacco because you have to
when
grow
they
it.
Put the cigar between these two fingers. Is very strange.
Yeah, that's always a thing. But what was interesting about the boom is when it died, it left the cigar industry and people who love cigars in a much better place than before it had happened. Yes, there was some negative. Yes, there were some cigar companies that went out of business. Yes, there was some cigar stores that had to close because they were cashing in on a boom. They weren't there for the real long haul. And I see craft beer as kind of being the same.
Very similar to that.
In this situation. I am so glad that the craft beer boom happened and caused all this experimentation. Look at all the companies coming out with great pilsners and lagers right now.
But the other thing that's happened with craft beer, and I don't know where this lies on the line of what we're talking about. The other thing that's happened is that the breweries have become a local destination now.
Right.
Like, this is my local brewery. This is where I go to sit down and have a drink.
Yeah, absolutely.
And where it wasn't like that, like 10 and 15 years ago.
You might do a tour and have a beer.
You would do a tour and have a beer. The laws have changed. You can go in, you can buy some beers there, and things like that.
When we come back after the break, I have to tell you about going to my wife's office's Christmas party at St. Arnold Brewery.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait to hear
fun
about
times.
that.
Yeah, so I'll tell you about that. Coming up, it's Smoking and Toasting. Okay, we have welcome back, by the way. Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Now, this is like a bonus spirit here because I'm pretty sure that Terry gave you that bottle of Glenmorangie 10 for Christmas, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah. The reason I know is because he apparently gave me a bottle, too. So.
He handed me this as I walked in, and you know what I love?
Yeah.
I love me some Glenmorangie. So I'll tell you, I this rum is nice.
No, it's tequila.
Tequila is nice. I mean, maybe that's why I don't like it. Anyway, no, this tequila is nice. It's not my favorite. So I figured since you guys are drinking spirit, I would just open up my Glenmorangie.
Cheers to you,
and
sir.
have spirits with you.
Cheers to you. I like the way you're thinking. We were talking in the last segment about
my God, that's good.
You know, that's why I wanted to get it, was because I think of all the things I really learned last year was that Glenmorangie was really good.
Really good.
This is an educational show,
It
Terry.
is.
And we're glad that you've been able to be here and be educated with us.
I'm learning now.
It's a good thing. No, I mentioned in the last segment when we were talking about breweries and how breweries have become destinations, right. in your neighborhood. My wife's company had their holiday party this last year in December at the St. Arnold Brewery. And I had not been to the St. Arnold Brewery in a while. Been there before, but I had not been there in a while. And so I was very excited about my wife's party. She's like, "Wow, you're totally into this party." I was like, "Hello, St. Arnold." I knew it. I knew at the very least I would be able to drink something good.
Drinks would be awesome.
Yeah. So I got there, sure enough. And the brewery, by the way, if you're ever in the Houston area, that is the brewery tour you want to go on. St. Arnold is in this old building that they've completely retrofitted, and it is just so cool. And it's such when you walk in there, you kind of understand the importance of the St. Arnold Brewery to the Texas beer scene and really to the national beer scene.
If you're passing through, it's minutes out of the way.
Well, right. It's right off the highway. So, yeah, it's a pretty cool thing. So what I wanted to share with you, though, about that is that I was enjoying ordering from this very friendly, wonderful bartender there. And, we were chatting, and it was like, it was casual enough that I decided to bring up one of my things about St. Arnold. And that is that a number of years ago, they used to make a special beer at Christmas time. And the beer at Christmas time was called Sailing Santa. Now, they make a wonderful Christmas ale, but the Sailing Santa was a combination of Elissa, which was the very first IPA they did, and named after the tall ships. And
it was named after the ship,
yeah, and the Christmas ale was a combo of the two. When they stopped releasing it every year,
they used to sell it in bombers.
Yeah, they used to sell it in bombers.
And then for a little while, they had it in bottles, right?
I think they did, yes. So when they stopped releasing it every year, I tried making it at home to very little success by just taking the two beers and combining them, right? And it just didn't
Somehow that didn't work.
Just didn't seem to work for me. I mean, it was okay, but it wasn't the Sailing Santa.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm relaying this story to my bartender, and she tells me two things that I must pass along to you. The first is they're making some. It's going to be one of those only available at the breweries things, and I keep checking to see if it's available at the brewery.
Wow.
The second thing was, I went back. That was my second or third beer. After 3 or 4,
seventh,
I start to lose the number. And I went back and I said, all right, well, since you don't have my Sailing Santa, I guess I'll take a Christmas ale. And she says, do you want me to try to make one? And I said, a Sailing Santa? And she said, yeah, I could try to make one for you. Just, we have the two beer. I was like, okay, if you can do better than I did, yes. And she goes, well, let me give it a try. Dude, she just about nailed it.
She had fresh taps,
She was within 95%
wow.
of how good the original Sailing Santa was.
Do you think it was because it was out of the tap?
I don't know. Or maybe she knew.
Or maybe percentage.
Maybe she knew what the percentage should be because maybe it's not 50-50.
Maybe it's not 50-50.
Yeah, if it's like 30-70 or 40-60 or something like that.
But I'm telling you, I drank Sailing Santa for the rest of the night. And I was very happy about it. And by the way, the food was good too, but I drank Sailing Santa. Yeah, I drank Sailing Santa. It was wonderful.
Wow.
So
that's so fun.
Now, that's a very, I understand if you're not from the Houston area, that story may not be meaningful to you, but man, my wife's Christmas party was awesome. That's all I have to say. It was awesome. So look for special things like that where you can find them in life.
I feel like that's something you don't hear husbands say too often. My wife's 100%. Office Christmas party was awesome.
Right.
Well, I figured it was going to be good because it was at St. Arnold, but wow, yeah, that was for real. You know, every year my out-of-state friends, I make a box of Texas and particularly Houston beers and send them to them, you know, and I'm surprised how few of them like return the favor. It's not that they don't give me something as a gift. It's like I really would love for them to go out to the local breweries in their area. Hello, Dave in Florida, speaking to you, and get some things, compile them, and send them to me. That would be
right.
That would be awesome, Dave in Florida. All right, we have to take a break, and we will be right back with. Oh, guess what? It's time for drinking news. That's
mercy.
next. This is Smoking and Toasting. You know, for an Imperial Stout, which that's going to be. Welcome back, by the way. It's Smoking and Toasting. That was a very I don't know, just like normal beer sounding can opening. Almost seemed like you were opening a can of Miller High Life there, just from the sound effect. But
it always seemed like such a nice beer.
Yeah, we'll see where we go.
It just kept to itself.
So Ian's going to pour this, and then as soon as he does that and picks back up the ukulele, it will be time for drinking news. So. Just, you know.
It's okay. Just one more pour.
We'll wait on you. How about that?
Right. You just wait on me for a minute. Let me pass these along.
I'll pass this along to Terry. There you go. We'll be trying that in a moment. That is our Imperial Stout for the program.
Part of the show is the pouring.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for drinking news.
Drinking news. Drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. When asked about his absent arm, he said,
I had to take my gator to the vet.
Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all.
I love it when you have Mary doing that.
Yeah, that's my wife, and she doesn't sound like that in real life. I don't know why that.
No, but it cracks me up when she does that.
It's so funny. Yeah.
But you can totally tell it's her. That's the funny thing.
Exactly. Well, what a year 2024 turned out to be, as it's now in the rear view mirror for us. It wasn't necessarily
Bye-bye 2024.
It wasn't necessarily a fire in the same dumpster as 2020, but it was a dumpster fire of a year nonetheless. So as we begin that process where we look back,
I'm starting to think that this dumpster fire is more like a tire fire that you just can't put out.
Right, it just keeps going. It's still burning from 2020.
Springfield tire fire burning since 1962.
That's right.
As we begin that process where we look back and review the lists of all the best and all the worst of the year that was, it makes sense to, zero in on the source of much of the material that winds up making the cut here on Drinking News.
The source is Florida.
Now, not that these are high standards, mind you, because the phrase high standards takes on an entirely different meaning when you're talking about the Sunshine State. 2024 was absolutely filled with stories like this. A Florida man has been bitten by a shark in the same beach location for the second time in 11 years. Police arrest a Florida man after he mooned the employees at an International House of Pancakes who refused to give him a free meal even though he showed up in a fake police uniform.
Oh, man.
Police arrest a Florida woman after a search of her car reveals drugs and paraphernalia in a bag marked "Definitely not a bag of drugs."
Definitely not a bag of drugs.
Said definitely.
And 2 Florida men bitten by a gator after they fed it beer.
What
These are
could possibly go
all
wrong?
stories we covered in 2024 here on the program. So the list, as they say, goes on and on. But as you will see here, our year in review would not be complete without at least one more story that continues to come our way from the Sunshine State. Our story begins with 30-year-old Liliana Goodson, a Florida woman.
Florida woman.
Oh, you changed keys. That was nice. 30-year-old Liliana Goodson, a Florida woman who was recently arrested upon arrival in the land down under, where, as we told you a couple of weeks ago, it has been reported that women glow and men plunder. But our Florida woman wasn't just on her way for a walkabout.
No?
In fact, she got walked right into a jail cell where she will stay for an entire year.
Wow.
What did she do?
The problem was a small item that Goodson had in her checked luggage. A 24-karat gold-plated pistol.
Oh, I'm going to Australia.
In her checked luggage.
Bring that?
In case you weren't aware, gun laws in Australia are very strict. So when they asked the Florida woman if she had any prohibited items with her, she told them no, she did not. The problem, of course, is that airlines and customs agents use this thing that you may have heard of to inspect baggage. What is? Oh yeah, an X-ray machine.
Oh yeah. That's
X-rays aren't real, dude.
That's new fandangled technology right there.
How about those X-ray glasses from the back of the comic book?
Yeah, it didn't work.
Man, come on.
It's so disappointed.
I can only see through the shirt, not the bra, too.
So when confronted with the fact that there was indeed a gold-plated firearm in her luggage and asked why, Goodson quickly employed the old tactic that comedian Steve Martin suggested back in the 70s if you wanted to avoid paying taxes. She simply said, "Oh yeah, I forgot."
No.
Now here at Drinking News,
The Ronald Reagan defense.
we don't know if this tactic ever actually worked for Steve Martin and his taxes, but in this case, the Florida woman, her sly defense was destroyed when police began to investigate. A thorough check of her phone and search history revealed two things that brought her "I forgot" defense to a very sudden crash landing. The first was that she had apparently Googled, "Can I have a gun in my suitcase?"
I wondered what these Googles were going to be. Yes.
Which is almost as damning as that church burglar we told you about last year who Googled, "Where do church keep money?"
Yeah, where do church?
That's funny. I love that.
But as if that weren't enough, she added one more piece of...
I want a T-shirt that says that.
Where do
church keep money?
We should sell those here, just smoking and toasting. Where do church keep money? But as if that wasn't enough, she added one more piece of perfect Florida behavior. Cops discovered she'd apparently set herself a calendar reminder to, and you can't make this up, put gun in suitcase.
Florida woman.
Now, all of this would have been enough to qualify this story for inclusion in Drinking News, but I haven't told you the best part yet.
Oh, boy.
Oh, but wait, there's more.
According to what our Florida woman with the golden gun told Australian authorities, she came to the land down under to go to an Australian clown college. Because, of course she did.
What?
Where else
Because-
would you take a golden gun?
Florida. Because nothing says a hilarious good time for little kids like a scary clown with a golden pistol. Now, look, I admit that my totally unoriginal clown phobia does make this story more poignant. But you have to admit, getting caught with a golden Glock in your luggage isn't nearly as embarrassing as coming to
I'm
Australia
pretty sure, by the way.
to go to a school that teaches people how to be
I'm
clowns.
pretty sure this whole show is going to be banned from YouTube.
Yeah, pretty sure. And while flying all the way to Australia to attend clown college
Wow.
is pretty embarrassing, there are more embarrassing reasons.
Well, you couldn't go to a local
land
clown
down under.
college.
Yeah.
I feel like Australia could kind of be like the Florida of the world. And when you come from the Florida of Florida and you just go straight to Australia and get arrested, that really says something about you.
Let's put it this way. If you're embarrassed for people in Florida to know that you're going to a clown college, so you go to Australia, that tells you something right there.
Wait, where are the world's best clown colleges versus the local community clown colleges?
Interestingly enough, that was not Googled in her phone along with how to take my golden gun to Australia.
Where's the Stanford University of clown colleges?
Right.
The Yale, the Harvard.
I went to Clown College Duke. That was me. Listen, while flying all the way to Australia to attend Clown College,
Ivy League, if you will.
it's pretty embarrassing. There are more embarrassing reasons than that to go to the land down under.
Wow.
Okay.
And so once again, with the full understanding that my psychiatrist has warned me repeatedly against doing so, I am now prepared to share some of those reasons with you, the listener, in the form of another Drinking News Top 5 list.
Do you mind some top 5 lists of
I'd
music?
love some Top 5 list music. This would be the top 5 things that are more embarrassing than going to Australia to attend a clown college. Top 5 things. Number 5, attending a clown college founded by famous Australian actor Gary Busey. He is Australian.
He's kind of funny looking.
I had no idea. I really had no idea.
Number 4, if she just wanted to visit the birthplace of the legendary Crocodile Dundee.
Of course.
Yeah.
Good eye, mate.
Number 3,
not a knife.
Number 3, if she wanted to learn how to make a bloomin' onion, only to find out that nobody eats those in Australia. They're just at Outback Steakhouses in the U.S. That's true, by the way.
Because it's fun to say bloomin'.
Bloomin' onion. Number 2, she loved the Barbie movie, thought that Shrimp on the Barbie was the name of the sequel. And the number 1 reason more embarrassing to go to the land down under than going there for clown college, number 1, she heard Australia was first established as a penal colony, and she thought that sounded pretty interesting.
Hey-o!
Reporting live from Sydney, where 17 clowns just piled out of a Volkswagen Beetle, and they're all holding Vegemite sandwiches. My name is Cruz, and that is your
Drinking news. That's our time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all.
Cheers, y'all.
I'd just like to point out, by the way, that because of our schedule, because of our recording schedule for the show across the Christmas and New Year's holidays, I had to write a lot of drinking news shows in a very short span of time.
That means you're getting better at them.
Oh, I was about to apologize. So if the quality,
I enjoyed that one.
So this is what's weird about this show. I was about to apologize for the quality of something we call drinking news. So that tells you everything you need to know about smoking and toasting right there. Man, Ian, you poured us our final beer, and this is interesting because this is an Imperial Stout, but it doesn't come in one of those big, huge tall cans or a bomber, but it is a bourbon barrel-aged Imperial Stout called Balance, and it's from Wander Brewing.
With a flamingo on the front.
Your thoughts, sir?
As a certain cartoon character would say, oh, mama.
Thanks, Johnny Bravo.
He was totally not expecting that.
Thanks, Johnny Bravo. Wow.
Each
There's
year,
been a couple of movie and television references from Ian in this show, which may be the first time it's ever been more than just one.
Top notch.
Each year, our brewers select the premier bourbon barrels from our barrel project, which are then blended to create balance. Coming in at 9.8%, this is delicious.
Yeah?
Wander Brewing made a beautiful stout here.
I particularly like the flamingo on the can. I don't know why.
Coconut, cinnamon.
Yeah, there's definitely notes of toasted coconut. No question about
the
that.
toasted coconut's big.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's brilliant. It's delicious. It has a thinner mouthfeel than I would expected, but I don't even know that detracts from it. I like that there's almost no carbonation to it as well.
Yeah, it's pretty much.
It's pretty straightforward.
Mm-hmm. But like you said, it's not as super thick of a mouthfeel as some.
The chocolatey aftertaste in this is where it really lives.
Yeah.
Like if I just walked around with that chocolatey aftertaste in my mouth all day, I'd be very happy.
He'd be a happy camper. Yeah. Yeah, no, this
You
is
know, like
actually
when you
quite
eat
good.
bacon and then the rest of the day, like if you have a little belch, a little bacon.
Yeah. Not all belches are that enjoyable, by the way.
No,
but, yeah.
no, because I've eaten Greek food before, and
See,
delicious going in sometimes.
And I still remember back during the pandemic when we were doing the shows on Zoom, and you dropped all that malt liquor by my house for the malt liquor show. I cursed you with every burp for the next 48 hours.
Ooh.
Damn it, Ian.
There's a reason it's called rot gut, not yummy tummy.
Yummy tummy.
I will say though, this Imperial Stout may be yummy tummy.
This is yummy tummy, yes.
Bellingham, Washington. So I'm going to assume that it is in the Seattle area. There's maybe like a
Definitely
suburb
in
of
the Seattle state.
Yeah, definitely in the Seattle state. But there's lots of good craft beer going on in Washington State.
Yeah.
Yeah, Washington
Sure.
State, and that whole upper northwest region
Yeah, that
makes
tracks.
a lot of good beer.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I mean, there's not a whole lot of portions of the United States that don't make good beer nowadays.
I think that's right. Because even if you're talking about like Tulsa, Oklahoma, you've got like, Prairie Artisan Ales.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. You
yeah.
can go kind of anywhere.
Yeah. It's interesting, though, because it used to be, it used to be much harder to find, obviously, before the boom. But you're right. I can be almost anywhere. Find a local brewery. Went back to Dos Serenos when it was in San Antonio over the holidays. That place is awesome. Like so many great beers on their menu.
Yep.
I'm pretty happy camper when it comes to finding a brewery in almost any city. Now,
Well, me and my wife went to Baltimore earlier this year, and finding a brewery, not a problem. As a matter of fact, not only did we find a brewery, we found Sagamore Spirits. That was fun.
yeah, I bet. I bet.
Sagamore Rye, good stuff.
Yeah, but it is a cool thing to do when you're traveling to any other city for business or pleasure, whatever. Set aside some time and visit one of the local breweries. Take in a little of that local ambiance, and most importantly, get a 4-pack or a 6-pack and send it back to us. We'll send you something back.
That's right.
We'll send you something back.
I love the character differences in some, because some of them are just breweries. Like here's some beer, and there's a food truck out there. Some of them actually have like a beautiful restaurant,
Right.
and like those kind of. It's really interesting.
Yeah, and it's to me, it's like part of the fun. It's like doing a pub crawl, but doing it across various cities and with various craft breweries. All right, we got to take a break. We will be back. This is delicious
It is quite good.
from Bellingham, Washington, and Wander Brewing. Look for the Pelican and we'll be right back. I like how it was almost a percussion instrument for a moment there. Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. On next week's show, it is the return of the Spiky Fots. Docs is back from Plantaray Rum, and his whole thing is.
Did I ever show you this? And I think I still have it in my wallet. Hang on, I'm pretty sure. You remember the cardboard cutout that Docs had?
Yes,
that he had. Yeah, and so we had that. That was sitting up at the last. And I mentioned it to him when we were at the Whiskey Social, and he says, "Well, it has now become a sticker."
Oh, it's a sticker.
He has made a.
Where did you get that? Did he give that to you?
Yes, he gave this to me
hilarious.
at the Whiskey Social. It's a tiny sticker. And I said, all right, I'm going to find some really cool place and put that. So I'll put that on there.
So
That's pretty
to explain
amazing.
the whole Spiky Fots thing, and this is from him. I didn't make this crap up. Doc says...
Nor can you.
Yeah, nor could you if you tried. Doc says that when he calls himself the Spiky Fots, Spiky Fots, because Fots, F-O-T-S, is friend of the show. And when he's on, the ratings spike. This is his, again, I'm not sure that's true, but this is
like
what
the Colbert.
This is
like
He's
what
our
Doc
silver-haired Fots.
Yeah, he is. He certainly is. And a very interesting Fots, too.
He's a Fotsy man.
My understanding is that Plantaray Rum, formerly Plantation, now Plantaray Rum, those guys have done barrel picks with specs, and Doc is going to be on to talk about them and sample them. Wow. And I'm very excited about that, because that's going to be some some good rum. I mean, Plantere, those guys will never let you down. Even their inexpensive rums are fantastic.
The Isle of Fiji is amazing. Don't tell anybody.
Oh,
it's
that is
cheap.
It's amazing.
And it's amazing.
Yeah, it's just
That's what you gave me for Christmas last year, and I enjoyed it throughout the year. I even took it to the beach one time and enjoyed it on the beach.
And Terry, I may be cheap, but it was a good rum.
It was a good rum. It was it's so good. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Terry, by the way, this last Christmas gifted both Ian and I with some Glenmorangie 10, and Ian has his here today. And what's awesome is that I'm drinking it, and I'm drinking his. Yeah. So I still have
you haven't opened yours yet.
Yeah, I have a full bottle, but wow, this is just such a wonderful spirit. I know it wasn't on our list of things to taste this show, but boy, I can't resist.
I love Glenmorangie. Boy, the 10-year-old is it's such a good whiskey and such a great price point. Like, you cannot go wrong with this. Yeah. And I don't care if you're giving it to someone who absolutely loves Scotch, they're going to love this. Someone who is just getting into Scotch, they're going to love this. Someone who doesn't drink Scotch but wants to try one, they're going to love this.
Yes, 100%. It's just one of those. You know?
Yes.
It really is. Really is. So I think we have some other cool shows coming as we work our way into the new year. Anything you want to tell us about?
Yeah, we're going to have Albert Cisneros. He's from Smoke & Swan Brands. They have a few different companies that they represent, but we're going to be doing that at a new place we haven't been to. Nice Ash.
I like the name.
In the Heights in Houston.
Very cool.
So not too far from either of us. That'll be coming up. I believe that'll be the third Saturday, I think, in
January.
January, if I'm not mistaken.
Third Saturday of the month, my friends.
But yeah, so we've got that coming up and a few more things that, and I'm not sure because I'd have to look at my schedule.
Well,
we have another one. We had Odell's.
One of
Odell's
my favorite
coming up.
breweries. I love those guys. Yeah.
Odell's going to come. Let me pull up my schedule. See, you got me. You should have said, hey, at some point in time, I'm going to ask you this question.
Instead, I said, we're going to talk about the spiky thoughts.
Yeah.
Yes. And then you got me all distracted.
Yep. And that happens. Doc has that effect on people.
Yeah, yes. And then it looks like the beginning of February, we will have Odell's / High Rise.
Oh, nice.
High Rise is a THC based drink. And also the lady that Charlotte Simmons is a super sweet lady. She does the repping for Odell's and High Rise, and Odell's makes that 90 shilling, which means they can do no wrong in my book.
These CBD beverages are becoming more and more of a thing.
Yes,
and THC beverages. So
beverages.
That one we tried not too long ago was pretty good, actually.
Yeah, it actually was. So, well, I want to thank everybody for making it through 2024 with us. We have emerged relatively unscathed on the other side, and we're ready to tackle and have a lot of fun with the new year. We got a lot of cool stuff coming up, and want to thank everybody who contributed to make 2024, a pretty rocking year for this program. We're hoping to achieve more radio affiliates this year and to just continue to keep growing the show incrementally, none of which we could do without you guys. So thank you very much, especially if you've made it all the way here.
Yeah, and if you're listening to us on podcast, subscribe. If you're listening to us on YouTube, like and subscribe. And otherwise, just have a great day.
And ring the bell, which I'm not sure what the bell is about, but everything I listen to on YouTube says, and ring the bell.
Oh, that just means they'll send you notifications whenever a new episode comes out.
Okay, well, fairly cool.
I think that's your subscribe thing, yeah.
I think it is. Well, have a great week, my friends. Terry, thank you for this wonderful Glenmorangie 10 that you gave to Ian.
I learned last year that it was such a great drink, so.
Yeah. Have amazing. A great week, my friends, and we'll see you back here for next week's show with the one and only Spiky Thoughts, Docs himself. Have a great week, my friends, and cheers y'all.
You're such a sweet little honey. Your smile's the loveliest of the lovely, yeah. Ditch that guy, we'll go outside. I know what we can do it. There I go, and I've been told I can't win. So there it is. First you say you can, then you say you can't. You don't want to take a chance.